Are there a lot of them around the park?
Not that many. The population's pretty low. Like, estimates are around 80 or so. They're big trout.
Yeah, just like the one we saw yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah, we saw a grizzly
Where?
yesterday.
Around which area?
In Moline Canyon, or down on Moline Road, the road down to Moline Lake.
In this park, about 100. Yeah. Yeah.
We saw one of them.
You saw one yesterday. That's right.
Yeah.
Up at you say around Moline. I was on the Moline Road yesterday too.
Yeah.
It was nutty.
Did you see a lot of bears on the road?
Yeah. Well, I saw that black bear with 3 cubs. And then I just missed seeing grizzly bear. It was at the picnic areas. I just pulled in and somebody told me about it. And then at the same picnic area, there was a moose.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you never see moose. Yeah, you don't see them very often. It's crazy.
The elk often, but not.
So 2 things. First, in avoiding troubles with animals, especially with grizzly bears, travel in groups. So any groups of 4, 5, 6 people, that's the best. Make noise when you're traveling along in trails. So singing songs is very good. Yeah, the little bells, not so good. Don't use little bells. Just oh no, that's just all it does is make you crazy. But it's
So
the bear doesn't.
talking and singing is better.
Talking and singing is way
And
better.
then what about if you come towards us?
Well, what you do is you stop going towards the bear and you turn around and slowly walk back away from the animal. Quite often, especially if you've been doing your singing, you're a lot of distance, but the bear knows that you're there. It's the surprise when you suddenly come around the corner and suddenly the bear is there.
Someone say, talk to the grace to
I'm sure you can, speak to it in whatever language you choose, and just, again, it's about putting some space between you. So the grizzly it's worried, like if it's close to you, it doesn't know whether you are a friend or a foe. And so with grizzly bears, they will often be a bit aggressive because they want to find out what you're doing, and they're used to living on the prairies in places where there are no trees or anything, so they've learned to be, it's like the black bear, exactly, yeah.
Okay. And some people say pretend to be dead.
No, I wouldn't pretend to die. I would just get as much space between you and the bear. I mean, the majority of time, that's going to be the safest thing to do. Not pretending to die. No. The food, they have excellent sense of smell. So if you're carrying, food, then for sure, especially if it's a bear that's used to associating people with food. But most places, especially here now, it happens that bears that get used to people or people food, they usually are taken away, or in some cases they unfortunately have to be shot because they keep coming back into campgrounds or picnic areas. So if that happens, that's why it's so important not to get people feeding bears or bears getting used to food, because as soon as they get used to food, then that fed bear is probably going to be a dead bear.
So would you recommend bear spray?
Especially if you're going to be in small groups or walking, then I would take bear spray along. It's also useful for other animals like elk. And right now elk are the cow elk with their young. Those cow elk are very aggressive. Female elk, the mama elk right now is sort of very aggressive. So bear spray is helpful against them as well. So yeah, so I would, if I was doing a lot of walking, especially on trails that are not used that much by people, or this one is so busy, right? There's people all over the place. It would be really, really unusual to have a bear wander through here. But on some of the other trails in the park, you might just be you and 1 or 2 others. So then it would make sense. Depends on the animal. Like the cow elk right now, it's the most dangerous. But in 1 month, the cow elk, they won't care about people at all because their babies are young. But in the autumn, the male elk are fighting, and so they don't like people. And right now, in terms of bears, you're most likely to run into a bear now because the bears are low in the valley. That's when they're eating. So they're eating all the fresh spring grasses and dandelions and all that sort of stuff by the side of the road. Sure, my name is Paul Langevin, and I'm a park interpreter here with Jasper National Park. We have some displays of animals here, especially animals that are species at risk, ones that are having a hard time as a species making a living here in the park and in Canada. So these are some of the animals that we're trying hard to protect.
My name's Alexandra. Yeah. I get to be outside all the time, which is amazing. I get to talk to people, tell them about things they didn't know before. I get to share knowledge. And I think the biggest thing for me is just I get to learn, which is the most exciting thing. I get to spend my whole day learning, which is awesome. Who wouldn't want to do that? Most dangerous? Honestly, I haven't really had any dangerous experiences. I tend to kind of steer clear of wildlife, which is what you should do. Maybe just being around an elk and her calves right now. That's probably the most dangerous thing anyone can do at this point in time. I was biking by an elk. I didn't even realize she was in the woods, and all of a sudden I was right beside her, but she didn't do anything. She just kind of looked at me. So.
Any cougar?
Cougars are really reclusive, so the likelihood that you're going to see a cougar is very low. They tend to avoid people quite a bit, and avoid towns and places where people are. I've come across grizzlies, but most of the time when I've seen them, they're more worried at attacking a bush of berries than a person. That they're way more excited about that. Honestly, they will only go for people in extreme situations. I've never seen it happen. I've never heard of it happen. It's extremely rare. Extremely rare.